Hey, everybody, we're back again for another look at the 1970s movies. Today, we're going to take a look at the acting performances in both actor and actress. We're each going to give our top five favorites during that decade. We've got AYBL Maine, Brian, got a channel on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. And Doc is here, my two regular movie partners. This is our fifth decade of film that we've done. We started with the 80s about 2 months ago, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, worked our way back to the 70s. So it's been a blast doing it with these guys. I want to thank them both for coming on with me, and we've really had a lot of fun doing it. So actor, we'll start with the best actor for the decade of the 70s. Doc, you're up first.
Here we go. Yeah, it has been a blast, Rich. So love doing this stuff, man. So this has been a blast for sure. So we'll see what's next in store for us as we move along. But we'll jump in here. This actors and actresses, especially the actor list here in the 70s, could have been a mile long. Pretty tough, obviously. I think we're going to talk about something that we've talked about here in the past throughout all these movies, probably at one point or another, I think. So we're just going to jump right in. Number 5 for me is Dustin Hoffman in Kramer versus Kramer. So I had this in a previous pick in one of my categories, and I just Dustin had a few good roles in the 70s, and I probably could have gone on to a couple of different ones here, but I just found the real human element of this character that he played, and really he played it really, really well. Obviously, it's number 5 for me, and there's a lot of good performances that happened in the 70s. I just think the ups and downs and the punches this guy kept on taking as a father throughout this whole movie, and how he goes with it. And it was this or Marathon Man, and I went here just because I thought there'd be a little bit more emotion in his character that related a little bit more to me personally, I'd say, just as a father figure. So
right,
Hoffman, number 5 for me. Man, these next ones, holy cow. Okay, number 4, it's Jack. It is Jack. Maybe not where you think I'm going with this one, but it is Chinatown for me. Let's face it, I mean, all these people that we're going to ring off here, man, has some pretty strong performances in the 70s. I probably could have picked from 5 different movies for any of these guys, but
yeah,
it's Jack in Chinatown was another one of those almost like one of those characters that, you could almost say that somebody like him in one sense or another. He's just that kind of guy that, on a fringe outskirt of a gang kind of thing that would be somebody you might know. And it was just portrayed that well, so well, I think, by him. And let's face it, Jack goes through a few things in this one too. And Chinatown is a fantastic movie, and the performances in this movie are top notch. So acting 101. Watch Chinatown, man. It's pretty damn good, and the performances, like I said, from Jack and the rest of the cast are just ultimately solid. So,
raise your hand if like you reach for your nose when that switchblade
everybody
did its number on Jack. And I was like, that's not cool.
Jeez, Roman, what are you doing, buddy? What are you doing, Roman?
nasty.
So that was my number 4. So number 3. Man, these get really difficult. I picked De Niro in Deer Hunter, actually. Another one here. Lots of performances again. And I could have went Walken too. I just think the performances in this movie are just top notch, man. So De Niro, I think when I get right down to his performance in this movie, it's the driving force of the movie, really. As much as Walken is freaking awesome in this flick. I just found De Niro to be that much more of he's in it for the whole thing, man. And it's the story flows through him. And I think that's what maybe attracts me to him on this pick. Let's face it, these guys are nominated and Oscar winners. And as we go through this list for a reason, they're the best actors that we've seen in our lifetime at one point or another, and still lucky enough to see some of these guys. So De Niro in The Deer Hunter is another one that would be in that acting class, acting 101, man. You just watch this and like I said, the rest of the supporting cast in a lot of these movies make a big difference as well. And I think, if you have some slubs sitting beside you when you're doing these kind of movies, it doesn't work out the best, but you got real pros dealing with real pros. It really brings it the best, I think, in some of these guys. That's number 3. Number 2, I got to go Pacino in Dog Day. For a few reasons, obviously, this is a risky role. It's such a human element, a loving, caring element that he has in this role that is so, it's real, man. And you know it, and you feel it from him through this movie. And it's, it's one of the better performances you'll see probably in your lifetime when you think about it. When you look back at things and you start thinking about stuff that you've seen and stuff, it's such a memorable character, and he plays it to a T. And you wouldn't see anybody else doing this, I don't think. You can see guys trying maybe, but I don't think anybody can pull off what Pacino did. And I have a lot of respect for him, man. I think he's done a lot. He's very versatile, man. And Pacino's awesome. But my number 1's got to go to Hackman in The French Connection. I can't get around Popeye here, man. This every scene in that movie with him is memorable. It just is. It's there's something so appealing about Hackman anyway, and let's face it, I love him as Luther or anything in the 70s as well. But this character as Popeye Doyle here, it's like I said, it's so memorable. It's every scene that he's in, you're just drawn to the dude, and you don't know why, but you are. It's like we talked about it before when we talked about The French Connection. When he's going in that bar and he's just going under the counter, he's ripping everything out underneath it. It's just dropping on the counter. And we figured that'd be like 100 grand worth of dope sitting in this bar at this one time. Then he goes in and beats up his informant cop in the bathroom after it was all said and done and stuff like that. That whole scene, you're just mesmerized there for another 8 minutes of film or whatever like that. Then you go to the next scene and you're mesmerized again for another 8 minutes of film because of him. And it's just sequenced throughout the whole thing. Awesome character. Never going to forget that. And Hackman's my pick for the 70s, man.
Very good.
Yeah.
I like it. Can't wait to get to mine because
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because we have some of the same actors. We have none of the same roles.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I have 4 of the same actors in 4 different roles.
So,
but that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool. That shows you
how the depth
how good they
all
are
the way through. Yeah.
Right.
All right, Brian, what do you got?
Okay, at number 5, I've got probably the role that did it all for Al Pacino. I've got Al Pacino as Michael Corleone in The Godfather. It was kind of nice to watch the story arc of Michael, who was a war hero, maybe the most clean-cut member of his family, come full circle and take his dad's spot as the head of the family of a crime family. On top of that, and watch how he evolves about how he even treats the woman that he supposedly loves at the beginning of the movie versus how he treats her towards the end of the movie. And before it was much more romantic, everyday man, and then by the full circle at the end of the movie, he's treating her as an Italian-made man would treat his wife, and keeping her at a distance and keeping secrets from her and things like that. So his story arc is the most interesting. And clearly, I thought this was the role that put Pacino on the map and would give him all sorts of roles to pick from going on in the future. Another guy who was in The Godfather, but I picked him for a different role. I got Robert Duvall for playing Lieutenant Colonel Kilgore from Apocalypse Now. One of the most memorable characters you're going to find in that film. It's a powerful film, and his character really stands out as he said he took a bunch of different military guys and kind of meshed them all into one. And he was quite upset that there was a couple parts of his character that were like cut out of the film. I guess there was a scene where he had saved a baby during after they took that beachhead, there was a baby that was getting ready to get hurt, and he saved a baby. After he went through all that, destroyed that village and killed all those people, he goes out of his way to save a Vietnamese baby. So, but he wanted to keep that in there because of the dynamic of the character. He thought that added a new depth to the character, and they cut it out. So he was kind of upset about that. But just, I mean, the whole taking of the beachhead, the ride of the Valkyrie, you know, Charlie don't surf. I mean, those are all such memorable lines in the film, and almost as serious as they were, there was like the parts of the film that we were laughing at. They were so absurd that we were laughing at those things. That's how absurd that they were showing you war is. Just absurdities that go on, and what people turn into, just crazy. Sticking with the war theme, I've got Christopher Walken for his portrayal of Nick, and I wish I could pronounce the last name.
Yeah.
It's one of those long
Nick works.
one of those long names. Yeah, but yeah, it's Nick from the Deer Hunter. Christopher Walken, you know, is known for his particular mannerisms and his acting, and those really hadn't shown themselves like early in his career. Some of those mannerisms that he end up getting parodied. So, I mean, there was an opportunity for him to not become a satire of himself early in his career. And a role like this was important for that reason, I think. I think we got to see Walken, what he's truly capable of when he doesn't try to be a satire of himself, which later in the career, that's what I felt like. He became a satire of himself in a lot of roles that he took on. And he just became an overtop performance of himself. And maybe I didn't enjoy those quite as much. But in this role, he was just incredible. I mean, this sullen, withdrawn character toward the end, everything that he experienced in the horrors of war and what that can do to people. He nailed it on the head, I think. I mean, I've had relatives who fought in Korea, and I've had relatives who fought in Vietnam and stuff. And, you know, they don't like to talk about the things that happened over there, and they came back pretty well unscathed. So I can't imagine when someone goes through what he went through, what it would do to a person's psyche anyway. Number 2 for me is Robert De Niro. We're sticking with those Godfather guys. I'll find another role to be in, though. I got him for Taxi Driver. Yeah. I just think that's you know, he did a great job in The Godfather, but I think if you start saying that the roles that kind of put De Niro out there and put him on the map, I think Taxi Driver and Raging Bull kind of did it for me. That's when I started saying, yeah, this guy, there's something special about this guy, and I'm going to enjoy seeing him take on more roles as we go forward. Just the descent into darkness of this character, and we just kind of go along for the ride, and there's a part of us that want to hope for the best and want to cheer for this guy on some little level, because, you know, we sympathize with maybe, you know, an underlying philosophy, but you know, towards the end, you're starting to realize, oh my God, he's gone. He's gone. And now you're just hoping, you're hoping that the carnage isn't too great by the time you get to the end of it. So, but great role for Robert, and big kudos to him. But like I said, you know, when we filmed, I think it was during Wild Cards the other day, I thought that the role that put Jack above all the other guys in the 70s was for One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I just thought that his portrayal of is it James Patrick McMurphy? I mean, I think it's his full name. They only call him J. Yeah, it's like they call him JP in the film, so it's all, or McMurphy has been he's being referred to by staff, but just, you know, it's at moments it's Jack being Jack, but at other times it's just him tapping into something a little bit extra that I don't think that I saw from other actors in the 70s, and his ability to play off of other actors that were so diverse in that film too. You know, like you guys were saying, you know, you got the Christopher Lloyd, and you got Danny DeVito, and you got Brad Dourif. You know, I mean, he has to play off of these guys, and the energy that he just brings to it just made everybody in that whole film better. And I think, you know, Michael Douglas is a genius, in my opinion, by saying, yeah, you know, Jack's the guy to do this. You know, didn't try to say, well, you know, I'm going to do this role, right? He realized he didn't have the chops to do a role like that in his career at that point. So, you know, he handed the baton over to Jack, and Jack just knocked it out of the park. There could be a lot of disagreements here. I don't think any of us are going to have wrong answers in these top fives, but in my opinion, I thought Jack was number one in the 70s for the boys.
Yeah, I agree with you. My top five, I have a lot of the same actors again in different roles. My number five is Gene Hackman in The Conversation. I
Wow.
know it's a low key role compared to The
Right.
French Connection, but this is a character study, all kinds of moods, and it's a very internalized performance, is the way I would put it. But it's fantastic as the surveillance guy who gets in over his head, and a fantastic movie for anybody who hasn't seen it. I would recommend it. You can't argue with The French Connection too. It was one or the other, and I went with Hackman in The Conversation. My number four is one that no one had, but I picked it. It's John Voight in Coming Home. I just think he's fantastic in that movie. Paraplegic coming home from Vietnam. Uh, you can see the pain on his face and in his voice, and he's looking for some future, and he falls in love with a married woman played by Jane Fonda, and then Bruce Dern comes home, and there's turmoil there, and I don't know. It's just a real touching role for Voight. Different than he played in Midnight Cowboy, different than he played in Runaway Train. He showed his range here. Fantastic. And I'm going to give him some kudos and put him in my number four slot. My number three is my favorite actor, Jack Nicholson in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I thought there were two performances better, so I had to put Jack third. R.P. McMurphy, Randall Patrick McMurphy, is the guy who's trying to avoid a statutory rape sentence, and they're testing him in the mental hospital to see if he's faking it or if he's really mentally ill, and all kinds of things happen from there. He runs into Nurse Ratched. He makes friends with some of the guys in the ward who are committed, and some of them are voluntary, and there's a whole dynamic played. It's one of the great movies of all time. So I put Jack at number three. Jack had, by the way, he had other performances I could have mentioned, like Chinatown, The Last Detail, and Five Easy Pieces. He was loaded for bear in that decade. My number two is Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. Just a portrait of somebody who you've never seen on the screen before. In my book, a guy who's definitely unstable. He tries to be a hero to different people, shooting people in the grocery store who he thinks are robbing a bank, and he wants to play cop. He's trying to rescue Jodie Foster, a little 12-year-old prostitute, from Harvey Keitel, the pimp, and then he's shooting all the people at the tenement where the prostitution takes place, and blowing people away. And and then he's involved in maybe an assassination attempt on was it a mayor or governor? I forget. He's a political person, Palatine, and the whole Sybil Shepherd thing with he eyeballs her, and goes out on a date, takes her to a porn movie. It's just insane, some of the stuff that goes on in this movie. Dark's not the word, it's bleak. Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. Travis Bickle, the name of the character. My number one, though, I have to go with Al Pacino in The Godfather, part one and two, to be honest with you. I mean, I could have taken him in Dog Day. Dog Day is an over-the-top performance, a great performance. But I like what Brian said about the arc of the character. He starts out as this quiet soldier who's just coming home for a family wedding. Before you know it, he's pulled in, he's assassinating these guys that are threatening the family business, a cop, another mob guy, and he has to be taken over to Italy to hide them from the other mob families. And then eventually he gains power. He's the head, he's the Don, and some of the things that it's another internalized performance. He's not showing you a lot as far as histrionics, but he is with his face and his attitude and the way he treats his wife. He slams her against the wall and he finds out she aborted a child. And his brother, he has to make a tough decision on his one surviving brother. It's just a very, very strong performance in both of those films. So I had to put that at number one, from where he started to where he ends up. And then you can even continue that on to Godfather 3. I know it's an inferior movie, but he has another level in that picture as well. It's an older man trying to protect his family still.
Yeah.
A great, legendary performance by Al Pacino. And I hated leaving Dog Day off here because it's top notch as well. So those are our actor performances. Trying to think if there's anybody. I had the same guys you had. The only one I did have that nobody mentioned is Jack Lemmon in the China Syndrome. I thought he was almost the equal of these other guys in what he
He was
did.
fantastic.
Really, really strong. I had Christopher Walken. I had Dustin Hoffman and Kramer, and then the other performances that Pacino, De Niro, and Nicholson gave as well. And not to mention some supporting guys like John Cazale, who
Oh yeah.
5 movies, 5 nominated films. He was great in every single one. So we're gonna
I almost had Brando. Brando almost made my list, but he was not screened long enough for me. And
Olivier. Don't forget Olivier in Marathon, man, and Sleuth.
Marathon.
No.
And Sleuth. I almost had Martin Sheen for Badlands.
Yes.
And I almost had
great in
George C.
Apocalypse,
Scott
too.
for Patton.
George C.
Sorry,
Scott.
George C. Scott for
Yeah.
Patton.
Great. So you could go a dozen deep with these acting.
Oh yeah, it could have been a long list.
And even Redford, who gets slighted a little bit because of
Totally.
his matinee looks, but he's solid in 3 Days of the Condor, All the President's Men, Jeremiah Johnson, The Candidate. He's got a whole resume himself.
Yeah.
Another one, eh?
Another one. So we're going to transition over to the Best Actress. Doc, you're going to pick this one up, your top 5 actresses for the decade.
This was a little difficult. I'm not going to lie to you on the actresses. I'll put it this way. My actresses are, I think, really awesome performances. And I think they mean something moving forward, or something that's iconic, I guess, in some senses too. So you'll try to, I think that'll make sense. And we touched on one, my number 5 right out of the gate. We talked about it previously, and it is Sigourney Weaver for Alien.
Nice.
At number 5.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a feminist role. Yep.
Yeah, it's exactly, it's there's a few reasons why, right? And she's fantastic in the role, let's face it. And she was up for an Oscar for this as well. It's such a memorable character, but it opened up so much more for things moving forward for women in Hollywood at this stage too, that you weren't thinking this way before this movie in Hollywood, generally speaking. We talked about what the 70s brought as far as opening doors and doing different things with movies. This is another one that actually, this is another branch off, shall we say, of what actually transpired at this time as well. So Sigourney Weaver in Alien, you don't think of it as an iconic or like an Oscar winning kind of role, but it really kind of, it is. And it's a powerful role. It's a powerful character. We got to see her play this character for a lot of years, and it's one of the better ones that I've seen on screen, to be honest with you. So Sigourney is my number 5. Number 4, just because I don't know how the hell she did it, and I almost don't want to know. It's Linda Blair in The Exorcist.
I like it.
Yeah. When you got to think about it for like what it really is, man. This is a kid. It really is just a kid. And most of everyone out there that's going to be watching this video has seen The Exorcist. So you get the idea. And if you haven't, and when you watch this movie, you got to realize that this is like a 13 or 14-year-old girl playing this part. Then you come back and you tell me that she doesn't deserve some accolades for this, man, because it's fantastic. We're talking about it 50 years later, about what kind of role that she played. And it sticks with you. It's one of the scariest movies, if not the scariest movie of all time. And she's playing the lead role in this movie.
Yeah. How'd you like to be how'd you like to be one of her parents and she comes home and says, "Yeah, Mom and Dad, I like to read some lines with you guys."
Yeah.
How would you feel about that?
You don't want to do any of those other scenes, and the scenes obviously that it could go down or whatever. But I mean, the language and everything else, and the whole bunch of things that happen that she portrays as this character that is possessed. Linda Blair's fantastic in this movie, and I'm going to give her accolades here, man. I'm going to give her the shout out on this, man. She's my top 5 of that decade for sure. Definitely a memorable performance. I'm not going to forget it. So number 3, it goes back to Meryl Streep in Kramer versus Kramer for me. um, soft-spoken and heartless all at the same time. And you know what I mean? Heartless or all
selfish.
self-centered, selfish,
Yeah.
and it's all about her and
Right.
fixing her own needs or what she thought were her own needs, and just abandoning her whole life on what she created up to that point. And then coming back almost like it was, almost all is forgiven, blah, 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 take me back in, and, this is the way it's going to be. And I'm taking my boy now, and I'll see you later. And the story behind it's one thing, but the way she portrays this, at some parts heartless, and some parts, until you find out maybe she does have a bit of a heart at the end. But it always stuck with me. I always thought both of them were fantastic in their roles in this movie. This is one of my favorite movies out of that decade anyway. So Streep's coming with me on this one.
Good.
And I'm not a big Streep fan, to be honest with you. So I understand she's fantastic, but there had to be other people up for Oscars over those last 25 years too. It just wasn't her, so. Number 2 for me, it is Faye Dunaway in Chinatown. This is Faye Dunaway, man. Great 70s run for her, man. Holy cow. And Chinatown is, oh man, what a painful character for that one to be playing too, man. So keep a lot of bottled up inside on one side, and letting bits and pieces out. I just dribble like a little, you're almost leaving a mouse with cheese kind of thing on some of these things. So it's such a painful character too, and the other side that she's going through. So you have a lot of sympathy for her at one point, and it's like, what the hell are you doing, and how did you even get there? So
my sister, my daughter, all that nonsense.
Yeah. Which one? Well, hey, I don't know.
Tell me the truth. You smacking that crap.
That's it. Yeah. It's like, don't want to give too much away about the movie, but that's a very, very.
But I just did anyway.
My sister, my daughter. That's it. So very good call, man. But yeah, Faye is my number 2.
Good one.
Number 1, man, didn't know this was happening. It's Jessica Walter and Play Misty for me, man.
Wow, very good. That came out of nowhere. I love it.
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
Thanks, man.
Very good.
You think about the 70s, and you think about women actors, their roles that they played, and you think about this role, and you tell me who else could have pulled this off, man, like this.
I know.
No one's popping into mind, man. You're not going to Meryl. You're not going to Faye. You're not going to anybody like that. You're not going to get us, Diane Keaton isn't doing this, man. So it is the original Fatal Attraction. She plays it to a T, and it is definitely the most memorable female character out of the 70s for me. And for this, it's so memorable that it's, like I said, it's the original Fatal. Clint's is fantastic in this movie, but she's just whacked, man. There's no getting around this. And look out, the only thing missing from this movie was the rabbit. So Jessica Walter, Play Misty for me.
I like it because you pulled that out, and she wasn't even nominated, so that's on the Oscars. She should have been.
Totally.
That is a memorable character. It's a good one. I like it.
Yeah. Thanks.
Very
Here we go.
Brian. All right. So when I whittled this down to 6, I quickly realized that three of my six ladies were all underage kids. I was like, wow. I said that just for some reason, I'm like, it doesn't feel like the women were nearly as deep to me as the guys. The guys, you can just roll off 20 on the top of your head and then start making a decision from there. I don't feel like I had that. I think I had like 7, that I was comfortable with, and then I was like, all right, so we'll pick it as we go. I did have one that Doc had. I did have Linda Blair at number 5 for The Exorcist. It's awful hard to top a role like that, of that magnitude, with the language that came out of her mouth, like you said, and the physical demands that it must have taken on her to some extent, and emotional demands for the character. I can't imagine how you prepare a a young girl to portray a role like that. I can't even imagine what the prep is for something like that. But I had to give her kudos for that. It's unfortunate that she kind of got stereotyped into these savage street type roles, and these female vigilante type roles later on in her career. Not much promise in those roles. They all seemed very dead end to me for her.
Dead end.
Yeah. Number 4, I had Sally Kellerman for MASH. I thought she did a good job as Hot Lips Houlihan.
Hot Lips.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's an iconic role. Everybody knows the shower scene, of course, and I thought that she brought just enough sexiness to the role without being over the top, and was able to play it straight, and still able to mix in with guys who are trying to be funny, and carry the weight of the comedy portion of the show. She didn't have to try to be that. I mean, she knew that her character and Frank Burns's character would have to play it like straight down the line, and that their characters were going to be the brunt of the jokes, and that she had to be okay with that and not try to do too much with her role. And I thought she did a good job with that. Number 3 is Jodie Foster for Taxi Driver, playing Iris, the underage prostitute who is attempted to be saved by Travis Bickle's character. Such a mature role to see her try to play, and you're wondering, wow, what would a role like that do to a kid's career if it's that early? But now you look at it, we have benefit of hindsight now, right? It's 2021, and we know what Jodie Foster became for an actress. She just became this juggernaut to just jump in the roles and just mows people down, for the quality of actress that she was. And how much of it, starts with this movie. I mean, to be able to jump into a role that's that mature that soon, I think that at the very least, it gave her that kind of insight into just how prepared you have to be to stand in a room with someone like a De Niro, or stand on your marks for a guy like Scorsese. I mean, I think that was probably important for her. So she definitely deserves a nod there. Number 2 for me, and this one, I thought it was going to be number 1 at first, but I didn't have her. I got Louise Fletcher for One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for Nurse Ratched. Something just screams bitch about this character the whole movie, and just the hairdo, every little nuance that goes into this character, just you hate with every essence of your being. And so, I mean, it's no wonder that, we're rooting for all the crazy people in this. We want the inmates to run the asylum, because this is the type of people that they have to deal with. People that just don't have any type of heart whatsoever, that always are just looking to cause pain to other people. And just, I have to give her kudos that she managed to play a character that I genuinely hate. And I mean, and that's hard to do, right? I mean, you got to get there and to be hated like the rest of your career for this role. Your people are going to hate you in perpetuity forever. So
you knew that. You knew that on the opening scene with her. Right? The first time you saw her on screen in that movie, you knew that that's what you were getting, man, and it didn't change.
Nope.
Yeah.
Never got any better. But number 1 for me, and this, like I said, this kind of bounced back and forth. It was hard for me not to give Cicely Tyson for Sounder kind of like the nod here. I thought the weight she carried in that very heavy, such a heavy movie, it's such a heavy role. Paul Winfield's wife and the mother of the young boy. The whole movie, just one crushing blow after one crushing blow. And that here she is, like, carrying the weight of her family, carrying the weight of the future of her child, and enduring all this heartache and pain and everything, and just always just chin up the whole movie. And the only the roles that I hearken to now, this role is so important because now I look at roles like Fences, and I look at roles like If Beale Street Could Talk, and I'm going, I guarantee these ladies looked at this role, how they were going to carry themselves in those roles. Because that's exactly the type of characters that you had to be. This strong female character that was going to get her, that's going to carry the strength about her in a very reserved way, but a very powerful way. So I gave her the nod. And that may be a hot take, but I'll take it.
No, it's a good one.
That's a good one.
I like it. I have some different ones, but some similarities as well. I've got number 5, also Linda Blair. I had to put her on the list for The Exorcist. Couldn't leave her out. I knocked out some veterans to get her in here because she deserved it. I mean,
yeah,
like you said, I mean, a 12 or 13-year-old girl going through some of the stuff that they put her through in that movie, and she's so believable. There's a couple scenes before she's taken over by the devil that she's real innocent and cutesy and this and that, and then she just goes into this transformation, which scared the what out of all of us. It was just totally the thrashing on the bed and the vomit and just everything that we've all known about. She gets my number 5 spot. My number 4 is Ellen Burstyn in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Another commanding performance. She's in pretty much every scene in that movie. That's an early Martin Scorsese movie, directing a woman. She's got the lead, and she's a waitress, divorced, raising her son. She wants to be a singer, I believe. That's her aspiration. And
Chris Christopherson's the male.
Chris Christopherson, right? Yes, he's in the movie as well. I think Harvey Keitel might be in it as well. It's been a while since I saw it, but anyway, it's a solid movie. Ellen Burstyn's a great actress.
Yeah, she is.
We've mentioned her in other decades, like what was the movie she did with the Requiem for a Dream?
Requiem for a Dream.
She's in that, and she's also in The Last Picture Show. She's been in a lot of great movies, but I'm going to put her here at number 4. Number 3 is Faye Dunaway, but in Network. I love her in Chinatown too, but in Network she plays that executive programming. She buys right into that sensationalism and anything for the ratings. She's a woman in power. She loves the power, and she's having an affair with an older man, William Holden, and she's using her assets to get ahead in the world. So there's a lot of women and a lot of people, let's say, that are like that. They'll do what they can to get at the top of the rung, and she displays that fantastic in the movie. Faye Dunaway, great actress. Number 2 is Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver. I agree with whatever Brian said about that's where she gets her start. She's working around the best of the best. She's with De Niro. She's got Scorsese there, and that's her foundation. And you didn't know at that point that she would be a superstar. She'd be a 2-time Oscar winner, but she got her feet wet in that dark, despairing movie, and she made the most of it. It's weird how we have these young people in these actress roles, Linda Blair and her, but they deserve it, man. They're monumental performances.
Yeah, the third one I had was that didn't make the cut was Tatum O'Neal.
Right, yeah. Tatum O'Neal. Yeah, and she could be very easily thrown in the mix. Mm-hmm. My number 1 is Louise Fletcher of What Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah,
I had her written down from Jump Street. She was going to be my number 1 because I agree. You hate her. You seethe when you see her, what she does to not only Jack, but Billy Bibbit. And she's controlling the whole show. She's giving the people in charge her notes on every patient on that ward about this person, and he's not quite ready yet. She has that meek and mild voice when she's talking to the authorities, and yet she's got that stern, hateful presence in the meetings, where they're in the circle and they're talking about different things on the ward. She doesn't let him watch the World Series when she knows in her heart that would be good team camaraderie for everybody, and she takes that away from him, and she takes the one guy's cigarettes away because he's gambling, and she's just controlling the whole show. Even at the end, when there's that confrontation, she loses her cap and it gets dirty. You can see her getting real tense because her cap, she's just not herself. And what she does to the Billy Bibbit character at the end is just criminal. And I was hoping Jack would choke the shit out of her at the end of the movie. You know, he had her down. He had his chance.
He had his chance.
And it didn't work out the way he wanted to. And then she comes back with the horse collar and just a hateful, one of the most hateful characters I've ever seen on screen. And that's why she's getting my number one, even though she hasn't had the career that some of these other women have had, like the Burstins and the Dunaways and the Jodie Fosters. Even Sally Field I left off, or Norma Ray.
Yeah.
And of course, I didn't mention Jane Fonda, who had a number of outstanding roles in that decade. Sissy Spacek and Carrie could have easily been in here. A tremendous
And for
performance.
Badlands.
And for
Badlands.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them, but that would be my list. So very good. We hit on a
Very
really
good.
strong number of actors and actresses here, and what a decade for movies and for acting. Standout performances, you know. They leave an indelible mark in your brain. That's the mark of a great performance.
It's the best
So-
decade for movies by far.
It is by far.
Yeah.
There's nothing close. There's nothing
No.
close.
No.
All right, so we're going to wrap up our acting category here, actors and actresses. If you guys, our viewers out there, want to suggest people that we overlooked or support some of the lists we made, we'd like to hear your top fives in both actor and actress. We'll be back with one more segment. We're going to do something different in our next one. We're going to take a look at all 10 Best Picture Oscar winners, and we're going to rank them in our order of preference. So for Brian, Doc, I'm Rich. We will see you in our next segment. Take care, everybody. Bye.